The bioluminescent corridors of Station Epsilon 7 hummed with their usual midnight rhythm when Jassy first heard it, a sound that didn't belong in the sterile vacuum of deep space. A soft, plaintive whine echoed through the observation deck's entrance. Barely audible over the station's life support systems, she looked up from her neural interface console, her fingers still hovering over the holographic displays that monitored the station's experimental genetics lab. The quantum clock read 3:47 station time. Everyone else in the research facility was in cryosleep for the long journey through the Kepler expanse. Everyone except her and Daniel, who was supposed to be running diagnostics 3 levels below. The whine came again. Jassy stood, her laboratory coat shimmering with embedded circuitry that regulated her body temperature in the station's fluctuating environment. She moved toward the doorway, her boots magnetic locking with each step against the titanium floor. The corridor beyond stretched into darkness, illuminated only by the faint, blue glow of emergency lighting that traced the walls like veins. Then she saw them. The cub emerged first from the shadows, no larger than a terrestrial Volf pup, but its form was something evolution had never intended. Its fur rippled with chromatophores that shifted between silver and deep violet, and its eyes held an intelligence that made Jassy's breath catch in her throat. The creature limped badly, favoring its front left leg, which leaked a phosphorescent fluid that left glowing droplets on the floor. Behind it, 6 more appeared. Larger, fully grown versions of the wounded cub. They moved with perfect synchronization, forming a protective escort around their injured kin. They didn't approach, didn't threaten. They simply stood there, watching Jassy with those impossibly knowing eyes. "Oh God," Jassy whispered, her mind racing through the implications. "You're from Lab Theta?" Lab Theta, the classified section that even she, a senior xenobiologist, wasn't cleared to access. The section that Daniel had mentioned once, during a moment of exhaustion-induced candor, before quickly changing the subject. The section where they were, supposedly conducting advanced evolutionary research on specimens retrieved from the moon of Proxima Centauri b, the cub wind, again, and took another limping step toward her. JASSIE activated her wrist communicator. "Daniel, get to observation deck C immediately. We have a situation." Static crackled, then his voice came through, thick with sleep. "Jassy, what's wrong?" "Lab Theta, something's escaped." "How many specimens were you keeping down there?" A long pause. "Too long?" "I don't know what you're talking about." "Daniel, don't lie to me." "Not now." Her eyes never left the creatures. "There are 7 of them standing in front of me. One's injured." She heard him curse, followed by the sound of rapid movement. "Don't touch them." "Don't move." "I'm coming now." But the cub had already reached her, its small body trembling with pain and exhaustion. It looked up at her, and Jassy felt something shift in her consciousness, a touch, gentle but undeniable, against the edges of her thoughts. Not words, but concepts, images, feelings, trapped experimentation. "Pain, escape, please." "You're telepathic," Jassy breathed, slowly kneeling. The adult creatures tensed but didn't advance. "You're not just intelligent. You're empathic." The cub's leg was badly broken, the bone visible through torn synthetic flesh, because that's what it was, Jassy realized with growing horror. This wasn't a natural creature from another world. This was a hybrid, a creation born in the labs of Station Epsilon 7, mixing alien DNA with artificial intelligence. Substrates and biomechanical enhancements, they hadn't discovered these beings. They had made them. Daniel burst through the far entrance, weapon drawn, a plasma pistol that should have been locked in the armory. His face was pale, his eyes wild. "Jassy, get away from it." "Lower the weapon." "Daniel, you don't understand what they are. What they're capable of." "I understand perfectly." Jassy stood slowly, positioning herself between Daniel and the creatures. "You've been creating sentient life, conscious, feeling, thinking beings, and you've been torturing them." The temperature in the corridor seemed to drop. The adult creature's chromatophores began pulsing with deep red, patterns warning colors that needed no translation. Daniel's hand shook. It wasn't supposed to be like this. The project was meant to create biological computers, living processors for faster-than-light calculation. They weren't supposed to become ... aware, but they did. Jassy felt the cub pressing against her leg, seeking comfort, protection. And when they did, you didn't stop. You kept experimenting. More images flooded her mind from the cub's contact memories of sterile chambers, of needles and scalpels, of watching others of their kind die on examination tables while researchers took notes, of Daniel's face behind observation glass, expressionless, analytical. The oversight committee approved everything, Daniel said, but his voice lacked conviction. We were on the verge of a breakthrough that would revolutionize space travel. At what cost? Jassy's voice echoed through the corridor. What makes us any different from the cosmic horrors we claim to fear if we become the monsters ourselves? The standoff stretched into infinity. Then slowly, Daniel lowered the weapon. Perhaps he saw the determination in Jassy's eyes. Perhaps he finally saw the consciousness in the creature's gazes. Perhaps he simply saw himself reflected in her disgust. What do you want me to do? He asked quietly. Jassy looked down at the cub, then at its guardians. First, you're going to help me heal this one. Then you're going to wake the ethics board. And then you're going to help me give them what they deserve: freedom, medical care, and a planet where they can live without fear. The adult creature's colors began to shift, the threatening reds fading to softer blues and greens. The cub's consciousness touched hers again, warmer this time. Thank you. As Jassy carefully lifted the injured creature, its family following close behind, she made a silent promise. The age of humanity treating consciousness as a commodity would end here on Station Epsilon 7. In the cold darkness between stars, some discoveries, she realized, weren't meant to advance civilization. They were meant to test its soul.